Welcome everyone. Today our speaker is Animesh Da, and his batchmate Rajesh Da is there to introduce him. And now we start the session. Over to Rajesh Da. Rajesh Da, please start.
Hi everyone, good evening all. And today gives me very big pleasure to introduce to you all one of my very good friends, Mr. Animesh Iksht. And Animesh is into designing and retail merchandise. He has been with Benetton and did his degrees from NIFT and a very prestigious university in the UK, Nottingham Trent. So he's an expert uh, on the um on the theme of presentation today, that is retail design and visual merchandise. So I will request Animesh to give his presentation first and request you all to uh, raise whatever queries you have, whatever clarifications you might seek from him at the end of the presentation. So Animesh, please start.
Thanks a million, Rajesh, for a beautiful introduction. As in visual merchandising, retail designers could be a very boring subject for rest of the group. So I'll try to make it as interesting as possible and try to connect it more to a contemporary way of dressing rather than it remaining in the field of retail design and visual merchandising. Uh, are you guys comfortable with both languages, Hindi and English?
Yes, absolutely, no problem.
Perfect. So as and when, as in I can communicate in both the languages. So feel free to ask me any question which might be pertaining to the subject, or as in I don't have a problem in case you ask any question in between also. Now, coming to retail, what exactly is the product? Product is something which has a very tangible value. It has a certain kind of a cost associated with certain kind of manpower to come to a certain kind of conclusion, which gives it a certain kind of a cost. Then comes brand, which is more intangible, which does not have actual value, precise value, but then multiple different kind of experiences make it into collectively put together makes it a brand. Where the products and brand actually get life, it could be e-commerce or brick and mortar retail, are the stores. So my focus area is currently stores only, and the presentation would be around store design and visual merchandising. As I explained, it is basically a number of things put together to make it really a retail design, so to say. Coming down to space is one place where unless you give a very tangible kind of feel to customers, they would not really be bothered about your stores, your retail experience, your product, or even brand for that matter. Now, there is one simple rule of 3 seconds. If something engages you in 3 seconds, you might get customers in. If it does not, then you are lost in the battle. So, and again, focus on one single message is more important than having multiple messages in one communication. Now, the idea is basically when you communicate too much, people do not really have time or patience or focus to understand comprehensive message, and the main protagonist, which is the message or product, is then lost. So it is very important to have very simple, clean message which gives you complete understanding of what exactly you want to communicate. Now, all that put together gives you a number of experiences which might be, again, you can express it or you feel it. A few things you can't express but feel. This gives me an opening to retail design, so to say. Now, retail design is divided into two specific parts. One is macro planning and then micro planning. Micro planning I'll deal with in later slides. currently we are dealing with the macro plan. Now, layouts, if you say, is the top view of any store. In layout, what you have are facades, lighting, movement spine, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing services which go into the stores, furniture which comes in periphery as well as mid-floor units, then a number of signages which comes. All of that put together is the realm of macro planning of stores. Then comes a number of, recently in last 10 years, live windows have become very important. Live windows could be an engagement, an electronic engagement with customers. Previously, store used to be with products and you would go into the store, buy products and move on. But with live windows, you can actually have augmented reality, VR, uh, and multiple other newer things, which now is coming to the forte of retail, because e-commerce will give you some kind of offers which no brick and mortar can compare. So it is important to improve experiences within the store where these kind of interactivities come into a very important, become very pivotal in terms of offering that experience. Now, because this topic is very intense and very deep, I'm only dealing with the superficial level of communication of the subject. We can have this conversation and communication for next 3 days also, and that will also give us not enough adequate time to explain things. So I'm just dealing in a very, very superficial kind of manner right now. Now, coming to micro planning, once you have furniture laid out, all your fittings in place, then you have within the store department, which is basically one category. It could be category based, it could be theme or story based. Then having relevant signages which communicate about the product range, which goes into one story or the other. Then obviously if something is there as an obstruction to perspective, then it is a hindrance to products which are behind. So even layouting of furniture has to be like steps, rising higher as we go towards wall. Then you have impulsive zone, impulse purchase zones, and various other kind of communication, which could be collaterals, which could be digital communication, or even sound for that matter. And we also propagate having fragrances which are then directly linked to specific brand, like we have done it in at Benetton. Now, once we come to visual merchandising, there are very, very distinctly three levels of retail in complete retail chain, so to say. One is luxury segment, which is ultra luxury and super luxury segment. Then comes premium brands, and then value brands. Brands are these Zara's and H&M's. Premium brand could be Tommy Hilfiger or Benetton for that matter. And luxury again, Louis Vuitton, Dolce Gabbana, and all those. So strategy of visual merchandising also is dependent on which kind of segment we are looking for, because in value you can't have very less number of products, wherein in luxury segment you might have only one product or not even a product in your store and still have a kind of communication done right. Like this is one such example where you see more fabric on the backdrop rather than onto mannequins, but the communication is right, the focus is there on the product, and you overall get look and feel of display. Similar kind of example. Now, one thing very important is, you would have seen this happening in products like fruits also. A good display does not necessarily mean a good display in a specific store. Good display comes from street also, wherein you can charge a premium for display of the product done right. So colors definitely play a very important role by blocking a similar set of color. Now, even color is divided into three categories broadly. One is primary color. Primary colors are those three colors which cannot be made. They are natural colors and you can't make them afresh. Then comes combination of two colors, which is secondary color. Uh, and then a combination of three color would make it a complex color or tertiary colors. And that's how the entire scheme of things change in terms of visual merchandising. Those are again subject matters which are very as in it depends on what kind of length one is interested in. If someone is interested in, I can have a session separately with the person. Now, as I said, those three segments previously, luxury, premium, and value, you can clearly see the differential. The right hand side image is actually more to say premium segment, wherein left hand side images are more to do with a very kind of basic value based product. So density completely changes as soon as we handle either a luxury segment or a value segment. So it reduces as we graduate towards luxury segment. Another example is how mannequins and props create a certain kind of atmosphere and ambience which adds value to the product. So product has a specific value, brand has a specific value, but both to put together, unless communicated right, within 3 seconds, customer gets either engaged or they get completely bored and move on. So these are some of the examples which are were designed by me. This is one such example of window. So again, within categories, this is a generally neutral kind of a window, and prior again is a gender specific kind of a window. So gender also plays an important role in the way you want to display. Category also plays a role. At times, replication of or enhancing of uh, prints or colors which are on the garment onto the backdrop really does the job pretty much, uh, which is required. So again, repetition is very important. Rhythm, which gets created naturally when you have similar kind of a colors bouncing off at a strategic location, is how you get displayed and right. Too many colors if you add, again, it will not really work much. Now, focal point, reducing cycle of importance. These are something which is very technical. If we get into it, it will become very boring. Now, visual merchandising is not a linear process that you have done it today and tomorrow it is done. Every day one has to be analyzing their sales. And once the sales are analyzed, you understand which are your top performers, which are your bottom performers, what combination works, what does not work. So understanding those numbers is very important. Again, the teams have to be trained enough to understand those numbers and do those critical changes. And this kind of a process is a very regular and a cyclic process. It keeps continuing. So it is a non-ending story. Uh, a good performing stores, actually, you'll be surprised, sell only maximum 60% of the garments in full price. The rest of the products are sold in end of season sale or any promotional product sales. Now, direction really comes from any kind of organization's head. And then they train a number of trainers. They go and implement and also train implementers who, again, are trained with information how to find scope for improvement through their display, and then keep that information circulated to HO through the same chain. Everything is a very cyclical process. So once you have done things right, does not mean tomorrow you will not find a challenge. Challenge would remain the very second day also. Now these are some loud communication of what exactly you want to communicate. So the stacks actually have a specific kind of a fabric which is promoted here. Obviously, I would take this as an opportunity to have Ayodhya story narration given in this context. We had a murti of Ramji, which was 6 inches tall. Now, a 6 inches tall kind of murti would not be seen by people who would come and visit. So again, an enlarged murti is adjoining it, which is 51 inches tall, and then can be seen by everyone. Similarly, that kind of a communication also comes into window, wherein the product could be small, but then supportive communication helps it enhance. So one thing is certain that whatever we see in the store is something which is very natural and gradual process in which society absorbs communication. Now, digital interface has come to a very important role. Now, these are all visual examples of how communication changes, density changes, focus on specific kind of a product. If you are seeing one set of product, you are not really observe, as in it by design that you don't see any other product. So now, coming from a Rolex kind of an experience to a fast track kind of an experience, they are both watch manufacturers, but target audience is completely different. So their experience also is completely very skewed towards the target audience and the way they would want experience to be consumed. Now, adjacency of product, these are all very kind of industry specific. But if anyone is interested and we have a question, we can take it. Now, products, if you see out here, is a departmental store, wherein assortment of fruits is separate from assortment of meat to assortment of even citrus fruit would be uh, kept separately. Now, obviously, we know this is a very interesting kind of image which I found. There is a mother and a father of a small little child. They go out shopping and they have specific kind of requirement, and very specific requirement has a very specific kind of a, experience to individual. Now again, higher movement, higher as in at the eye level, products move faster as compared to products which are kept on a lower kind of view of sight or a higher level. So anything which is in this range of higher visibility will have a faster movement. Anything which is in the lower shelf or a higher shelf where interface is slightly difficult, it would be slightly difficult for products to move. High margin products are hence kept at all focal points. Now, if I see focal points, do you see the cursor? Is my cursor visible to others also?
Yes,
Hello?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, visible.
It's slightly easier for me to explain. Now, if you see, these are the focal points. What critically you see at first glance are those focal points, and by design they are meant to have a higher margin kind of a product. It may not be very higher cost of product or higher MRP of the product, but then higher margin set of products which are at relevant places. Now, pyramid, as we know, are the most stable structure ever found. So pyramids are pretty much used very often in terms of retail display, and for seasonal displays they have separate counters because it requires least number of material for display and maximum could be displayed. Now, if you want, we can take you to, I think, Amazon Go. Have you guys seen the experience of Amazon Go, or shall I take you through this is a very important kind of MP4. Would you like to have a look?
Yes,
Yep.
yes, sure, sure.
Yes.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
Go back.
4 years ago,
You can press escape. Escape the word.
Escape. Escape is not working.
we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning,
Alt. Okay.
एक बार फिर से पीपीटी ओपन कर लीजिए, मतलब पीडीएफ ओपन कर लीजिए.
Okay. As I think I have explained about pyramid, the most stable kind of structure. Now, once you communicate through mannequins or any other kind of focal points, it is very important also to have price points of product displayed. Wherein in luxury segment, that price point may not be important. It is very important for value-based products. Now, these are some rules of three. Again, pyramid, if you see, is a triangular structure. Rule of three is again a rhythmic kind of a thing, as in it requires, as in 2 point would make it a line, third point would make it a triangle. And this rule of three actually plays a very, very important role in retail also. Though it is very important a rule in terms of construction, it is equally important, or engineering, it is actually very important in retail as well. Now, this is one unique thing. If you see something which is a very unstable kind of a thing, that also attracts a lot of attention. So this is a reverse of a pyramid, if you see. Like again, price points, then comes basic hygiene of product, which is a very, very regular kind of a to-do kind of a thing for every store. Basic hygiene. So all these are basic rules of visual merchandising, which is very important. Now, as soon as your products, the size set is actually small, medium, large, extra large, double XL, and extra excess of that, if you have cut sizes, which is 2 or 3 of the product sizes are not replenished or not there in the store, it is better to keep it in a place which is slightly more discreet rather than it being on the eye level. So these are some important aspects of in-store display. Then comes window, again, very uh, interesting kind of windows, very different kind of windows. Now this one is a closed backdrop window. You might have it partially open, opaque window, or completely transparent windows also, dependent on how the brand wants to communicate. Within this, you have three kind of categories of windows. One is partial window adjoining your entrance, two completely closed back window, one with mannequins. It could also be a live mannequin kind of a show, or a closed back window for certain kind of a prop, which is more engaging to customers. Now, a lot of people think that visual merchandising is a thing which does not require much of brain. It does require a lot of brain, but at the same time, it requires a lot of, more than anything else, it requires a lot of day-to-day checklists which have to be completely filled up and completed. Now, this store would have gone in for renovation, and so they have a backdrop which keeps customer engaged that we are again going to open shortly, certain kind of communication which is important. Now, this is something which was very cute to me. A small little pet, which is not even a pet, a replica of a pet, and then you have a communication which is done right. As I said, visual merchandising is not at all which is pertaining to only hardcore garment retail or FMCG. It happens at a tea stall also. It happens at every location for that matter. Even in drinks or any category of product, if you see, you're going for a certain kind of an experience, visual merchandising would be there, even if it is e-commerce or brick and mortar retail. Now, signages have to complement wherever your products have to go. Now, if you see here, the aspect of lighting is something which is making it more interesting. If you see, products are decently lit, but along with the main protagonist, the support protagonist actually help make the communication right. Generally, puppets are those who are run by people. Here it is reverse of it. But communication is done right because the product is getting focus and it is exciting people to watch and go into the store. Now, there is nothing very, very linear about the display, but the simplicity of curvilinear surfaces is creating a very different kind of an ambience, which is engaging people. Now, this is what I would call physical, which is a combination of digital and physical retail. A simple screen which is put on the ceiling in weather, like if it is snowing outside, it is very cold outside, a certain kind of engaging summer kind of feel inside the stores will prep up the store a bit more. I'm giving just one example. There could be plenty other example of usage of a certain kind of screen, which may or may not be interactive, dependent on the amount of sensors put in and technology put in. Would you like to have a look at this? Again, I can share the presentation if you want with anyone who is interested in to read in depth, and then if they have any specific kind of question, I'm always free to answer. What we have seen so far is it is not really, nothing is linear out here, that if you've done it once, you've done it right. It requires two different kind of a cycle out here. One is re-merchandising, which is within the display area, putting the products at relevant places and re-merchandising it as and when required, which is a daily kind of a process. It can happen twice or thrice daily also. And rotation of product segments, which is one segment is transferred. A segment, if it has done a certain kind of work which it was supposed to do at a key area, would be then taken to a non so productive area, and non so productive area product could be brought to front, which then would have had acquired the strength required to come to the front of the store. So again, there is rotation and re-merchandising, which is every day's activity of visual merchandiser. One has to be very clinical in terms of their approach, so as to cut their losses and add to their basket. Now, when you see any kind of a store, global rule is to have a 4 feet kind of an aisle between one rack to the other, which could be 1200 mm if people have a matrix system followed in their country, or 4 feet approximately. Lighting again is a factor of 3 different kind of lights are available. One happens to be ambient light, which is basically what a tube light does in a house. It just fills up the entire ambience with light. Then you have product specific light and accent lights. Accent lights are those lights which are just adding to the atmosphere. It is, or color to the atmosphere. It is not doing much of work. So the focus light which is there on the product, they are the most important light as far as retail is concerned. If I give you an example of Abercrombie and Fitch, which Indians haven't experienced so far, you don't really have any ambient light. Rather, you only have product specific light, which is every product is displayed, but you don't have any lighting on the aisle. Rather than having signages, they have fragrance, a very strong sense of perfume, which brings in people to their store. And then you have bare-chested men, chiseled body and stuff, which attracts people. So these are very, very different, varied kind of aspect of retail design and visual merchandising and in-store experience that is important for their specific target audience. Wherever required, agenda of sale is visual merchandising is to improve the basket size, which is either in terms of value or number of products which go into the basket. So adjacency of product or categories is important. Then cross merchandising, upselling, all those are aspects of visual merchandising which is important. This is one matrix which I had developed, and this was developed after having a good amount of experience, is the matrix, which is, so to say, do you remember I had shared about macro and micro planning? So this is about micro planning. When I see micro planning, actually end is to be considered while starting a project. Now C2N is do not use more than 2 colors and multiple neutrals if you want, but 2 colors, not more than 2 colors, should be there in one section. If you add too many colors, you are losing it completely. Now again, those 2 colors have to be balanced in terms of their placement. So it has to be a certain kind of rhythm between the products based on the colors. And then comes priority, as in if you see the circle one, the smallest one is where your most attention would be, and slowly, gradually it reduces, it diminishes. Then pyramid, as I had explained. Now key products which are actually high value or maybe higher revenue earning kind of a product, which have to be in the key area, and the symmetry or asymmetry have to still be balanced. It has to stand out on its own and still remain absolutely balanced. With this, I would like to finish the presentation and want to take any question that you guys might have. I know this is a very, very kind of a boring subject, and it does not really require, it requires a depth of understanding, but might not be very engaging to everyone. So thank you very much. Now, floor is open for your questions.
People, please raise your questions.
थैंक यू अनिमेश दा. आई थिंक ये हमारे डे टू डे लाइफ का एक पार्ट है, बिकॉज शॉपिंग तो सभी करते ही हैं, बट वी डोंट रियलाइज कि इसके बिहाइंड का साइंस क्या है एक्चुअली में. तो ये काफ़ी इंसाइटफुल था कि कैसे जो स्टोर्स होते हैं वो कैसे हमारा ध्यान खींचते हैं, एंड अनोइंगली वी बाय सो मेनी प्रोडक्ट्स. हम जाते हैं, एक दो चीज़ें खरीदने जाते हैं, उसके साथ में तीन चार चीज़ें और खरीद लेते हैं. तो आई थिंक बेसिकली यही इसका साइंस है इसके पीछे.
No, we are the culprits. As in, I am against it. As in, उतना ही प्रोडक्ट खरीदना चाहिए जितना आपकी जरूरत हो. But by design, I was in a field which increases obsolescence also.
ऐसे भी हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. Sam, you have a question. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hello, Animesh Dada. What is eye level? And secondly, I myself personally get agitated when I don't find the product at the same place where I got it from the last time.
Okay. Now
So,
I'll give you both kind of answers. One you spoke about is eye level. Eye level is when you stand as a human. When you stand, the level at which your eyes are is actually the eye level. Anything which goes higher than the eye level or below the eye level starts as in you see your visibility. Whenever you see any kind of a thing, you focus on a thing that is your eye level, and then it starts reducing. As in, when you start looking broadly, you see the entire gamut of things. But eye level is something where your eye actually moves. Which could be
I got that. Eye level, how do you decide? In Russia, it's like 6 feet. In India, it will be 5.5. So
Yes.
there will be some benchmark.
Yes, every country will have a very specific benchmark, but human eye level actually ranges between 4 feet to 6 feet.
That's what I wanted.
And second question you asked me was about
Yeah.
getting agitated with the products. Then you
No, no,
are
no.
actually talking about agitated when the product is not there at the place where you saw it last.
Yes.
Now, as far as departmental stores are concerned, you might get agitated. But when you consider a fashion brand or fashion stores, you may not be getting agitated. There is a very simple logic.
True that.
There is a very simple logic. When you go to a departmental store, you don't have to rack your brains and find something new. You have to do a very, very mundane job of buying specific product of your requirements and fill it in your cart and move on. Wherein when you start going for buying your products, which could be 70 pounds or 80 pounds or maybe 200 or whatever dollars, you require that kind of focus and attention, and you might want to explore a bit more. So in that case, wherein your experience might not be right, if product changes its position at a departmental stores, it actually adds value when you talk about garment retail. Have I answered your question?
Thank you.
Any other question anyone might have?
Hey Animesh, Prasanjit here.
Hey Prasanjit, how are you?
Good. A very nice presentation. I found it very interesting. So I have one question. It may not be relevant to what you discussed, but I'm just curious, so I'm asking. So, especially when it comes to discount and sale, we see the highest variation in the garment industry. right? I mean, sometimes you see 50% off, 75% off. So why is it that? Is it because they are like high margin products, or is it something that people use most often, which I don't think is the case, because even the supermarket stuff people use a lot. So if you could provide any
Yeah,
insight.
I'll just take you through the dirty game of retail, and you might understand it better. Generally, you call it MF, which is multiplier factor. MF is actually when you have product at your level, you procure a product at specific level, which is at your warehouses. It actually costs 25% to 33% of MRP. Then once you add on rentals, overheads, margins of your franchisee partners, your company's margin, marketing cost, and other costs, then again the margin starts reducing. But reality of the matter, garment has a very specific kind of a life, and we garment designers, product designers, are the biggest culprits of one of the biggest culprits of creating green as in pollution in the world. So with that, I take it as a guilt on my own profession. I still say that only a successful product is considered successful once it crosses the threshold of 55 to 60% product sold at full price. The rest of it goes on first end of season sale or some kind of promotion, which could be holiday sale or something which would be very precise to any specific country. Then it goes on to e-commerce platform, and if it is not sold there also, it either finds a place in some dumping yard or goes to a third world country in their retail chain, because then climate and other aspects are uh, no one bothers about that. Then it is dumped somewhere.
And who decides this kind of the supply chain management people? They decide this flow, like from e-commerce to a different country. Is it the supply chain management people? They decide it?
Supply chain actually acts on direction given by the sales team.
Okay.
Sales team have their specific target, and they have to achieve their profitability.
Okay.
Because they are the front runners for the organization, and they have to bring in the money for survival.
Okay.
Unfortunate part also in the entire sector of retail happens to be high rental, which makes prohibitive at times for retail to
Yeah.
exist.
Thank you, Animesh. Thank you for answering the question.
Hope you have answered it properly. You understood.
Yes, absolutely. I got it.
Any other question? Abhishek, I think the formal part of presentation is done, and I don't think there are any questions left. So if you
Sure.
can possibly
Animesh,
stop recording.
uh,
Yeah,
let,
Rajesh,
let,
please.
let the participants take their own time.
Yes.
Give them some time, please.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I request if anyone has a question, you can raise it. You can unmute yourself and then ask the question.
Okay. Is it okay for me to raise few questions?
Yes, please.
Sure, Rajesh.
Okay. Okay. So, following up on what Prasenjit asked you, I will be very specific, which is not related with the presentation you gave, but very much related with the consumer behavior you might perhaps also study just to arrive at the kind of techniques you've discussed here. So, should one buy garments at a big discount, or should one just let it go by?
See, again, buying is a very personal choice. A few people like having plenty of garments. Others, as in for last 7 years or 8 years, I have not purchased any garment. As in, I'm still surviving on the garments which I would have purchased some 20 years back, 15 years back. Not that my size has not increased, or as in there is definitely an increase in size also, but the garments are surviving. So it is completely a personal choice. I am personally now against fast fashion, wherein you buy purchase for a specific purpose and then discard it after use. Products which have lesser grammage or thinner fabric should be avoided, because they, third thing is, garments which are not really natural, they should not be used. Natural garments are very limited in the terms of numbers. Most of the garment, if you see, they have mixed yarns. As the garment yarns get mixed, it is an Herculean. Forget about Herculean task. It is impossible to separate those chemical fibers or plastic from fabric and then have recycling done. So it makes it unrecyclable a product, and by end of the day, it adds to our misery as we see climate change and rest of it.
Thank you, Animesh.
So anyone else wants to ask questions to Animesh Da? You can unmute and ask the questions.
निमेश, राजीव का फोकस था कि जो एक्चुअल प्राइस है उसमें लेना चाहिए कि जब डिस्काउंट आए तब लेना चाहिए.
मैंने उसी को आंसर किया है. बेसिकली आप प्राइस, आप जो प्रोडक्ट का पे कर रहे हैं वो इररिस्पेक्टिव, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. आप द प्रोडक्ट यू माइट वांट टू परचेज इन फुल प्राइस might not land up in end of season sale. So dependent on your choices, you might want to pick up at full price. You might not get an opportunity of buying it in EOSS. So I'm not too sure whether, as in my answer was actually pertaining to the larger aspect of life cycle of products, which is to do with sustainability of planet. So personal purchase, if it is just based on specific kind of fabric, finish, cut, style, and rest of it, if that is a choice, go for full price product. If there are compromises to be made, then wait for end of season sale. But best is don't buy garments unless you need it.
बहुत क्लियर.
I would one small one just to keep the discussion going.
Yes, please.
So how would visual merchandising appeal to someone who cannot see, who is visually challenged? How would you, as a designer, make up for this?
See, for a blind person, obviously, with people might have different kind of disability, and not for everyone we can design. But then for physical disabilities which are to do with movement, you can have assistance given out to people. But people who are blind, they have to trust their accompanying person to help them out choose garments. There is nothing which we can do for blind people. If they can't see color, they can always feel fabric. They can always see overall proportion of the garment by hand feel. So nothing as far as I have not really come across an enabled store for disabled people as far as product choices are concerned. I have not come across any experience.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Animesh Da, for this beautiful presentation and quite insightful presentation. So if anyone has further questions, you can ask, and I think we can end the formal session and stop the recording. And this session will go on. And if you want, you can continue with the discussions. Thank you. Thank you so much for participation.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Animesh.
Abhishek. Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks,
Thank you, everyone who has joined.
Abhishek. And then you have Aditya out here. AH happens to be Anthony, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, Anthony is
Gosh,
here.
thanks.
Good.
Sam, your question was absolutely valid. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dada.
So, Abhishek, you can please stop the recording.
Yeah.